For me, faith is trusting in a universe, and I'm just going to get kind of metaphysical here, a universe that loved you so much that it breathed its life into you to come here to do what nobody else can do. I mean, to me, that's friggin' amazing, and you don't have to know how, and you don't have to know when. I think for me, faith is trusting that the universe has me and that it's going to show up at the right time in the right way. And any challenge that comes into life is an opportunity to be still, to be open, to be awake, to be aware, and to trust that the universe has your back.
Welcome to the MINDTRX podcast with breakthrough ideas to live your best life possible and how to make it happen. I'm Paul Scheele, and today we will be joined by Cynthia James. Cynthia James is a transformational coach and inspirational leader, guiding people to make changes at a deep level for lasting healing. She excels as an international speaker, coach, singer, and award-winning author of multiple books, including her latest book, Does My Voice Matter? Hello, Cynthia. It's so good to have you here. It's such a pleasure having known you through the Transformational Leadership Council. Welcome to this podcast.
Thank you. I am so happy to be here, and I am so happy to be here with you.
Well, thanks. And, I really enjoyed your book. Your book is a wonderful narrative, a very intimate one of your life. And you tell the story against the backdrop of human history and world events that took place in each of the decades of your life. I really loved it. It was fun. It was engaging. And I wondered if you could tell the moral of the story of your life up until now, having really told the story of your life. What is on Judgment Day, you're asked, what was your life about? How would you characterize it? What's the moral of the story?
Past does not define you. You get to create the life you desire.
Wonderful. I saw that in a couple of different ways through your book. I felt that the book had two big messages. One was about finding your voice and expressing your authentic self. The other was about manifesting your dreams. Would you say, how do you feel this book really leans in terms of the messaging to the reader?
Well, I think both of those things that you said are accurate. I mean, it's like really the dreams that are living within us, want to emerge. I mean, that's why they're there. And so one of the things I wanted to do with the book is the lessons that I've learned, I wanted to share them with other people and see if they could use the same techniques. And the other part is like, we're original imprints. We came here to be fully expressed. And circumstances in life can get in the way. But when you realize that, when you really connect to that, all bets are off. You can create any kind of life that you desire that is fulfilling, and you bring your light.
All right. Now, you and I both have a similar trajectory in terms of the examination and living into the New Thought, Ancient Wisdom tradition. I was raised in a traditional Lutheran church. I went to Unity Church and learned a metaphysical interpretation of Scripture. I worked a lot in the New Age community with the agape spiritual community that you talk about in your book. as minister at Mile High or teacher there in Denver, one of the things that we come to understand is that we are spiritual beings here to have the fully human experience. And we bring our gifts and talents. But for someone who is not exposed to that, how do you help them realize the truth in that statement? Because you say it quite matter-of-factly. And for me, I go, yeah, speak it. But if you're with someone who isn't necessarily ever heard of what you're talking about, where do you start?
Well, the first thing I tell people is, really, you're an unrepeatable original imprint. And so however you get to that understanding, however you get to claiming that, I mean, there's nobody else like you on the planet. So for me, it doesn't matter if you practice religion or not, or if you're on a certain path, if you can own that. And by, when I say bring your voice, it's like what that means is not the sound that comes from the larynx. The voice is you. That could be your writing, your speaking, your teaching, your dressing, your designing, whatever it is. But you get to what lights you up and what you're passionate about, then all of a sudden the portals open and you get to create in ways you could never have imagined.
All right, so let's talk about those portals, because when we talk about the guidance that we have access to and can receive, there's a lot of ways in which that lands on us. And I also have found, we kind of live in two phases of our lives. The first phase where we're just absorbed by the culture and raised in the culture to have our culture's mindset, our lens, if you would, for looking at the world. And then there's an awakening that occurs. I love the way in which you've documented your own awakening and awakening and awakening and awakening to pattern after pattern and so on. But the idea is that once we cross the threshold into becoming self-authoring, to really choosing how we're going to live our lives, helpers show up.
Yeah.
The right, I call it divine right timing, or the right place, the right resources made available. How do you help people understand the truth of that, especially when they're standing and looking over the abyss in front of them, wondering how in the world am I ever going to get to that dream over there?
Yeah. So the first thing I want to say is, if you can pause, you can look at your life and you can see how little miraculous unfoldings showed up. You thought of someone and they called you, you wanted to go somewhere and you got an invitation. And those are small kinds of things, but I want to share this with you. I just took a group to Egypt and we were coming back, and one of the women was struggling, and the rest of the group was going to one place to get on their planes, and she had to go to another place. And we had stopped someone with one of the carts to see if they would help her, and they said no. And so we were all standing there going, okay, something's going to happen. And out of nowhere, a very tall man walks over who's got on a badge, and he said, do you need help to get to L? And she said, yes. He said, well, let me help you. I'm going to help this man. And he had a man over there who had a wheelchair. Now, what we didn't know was, not only was it another place, she had to go somewhere, get on a shuttle, do all the, and she would not have made it because it was really challenging for her. And so she put in our group, she texted and said, that man was an angel. And I know that because we were all clear that something was going to happen, he showed up. And so I guess what I want to say here is, like, you don't have to know how, you don't have to know when, you don't have to know who. If you can activate some level of faith that you will be taken care of, that you'll be supported and nurtured, it will show up. And it will show up in ways that you go, wow, look at that. And the more, synchronicity is what it really is. And the more that you see it, the more that it happens.
Wonderful. And it requires quite a bit of resilience within ourselves to be able to be open to those synchronicities to occur. Because it's very easy that we would bail way ahead of the opportunity for some good to show up by just saying, this is never going to work. So you talk about the idea that mindset is an important part of manifesting. I wrote down the word here is that you talked about the correlation between positive mindset and manifestation. It said manifestation occurs as mindset, intentionality, and faith intersect. So I would love it if you could take a moment to help define each one of those three, because they're words that we all hear, have a little faith or have a lot of faith, or, you just need a positive mindset. What is that? What is a mindset? What is intentionality? And what is faith as you've come to understand it, Cynthia?
Well, I guess the first thing I'd say to anybody listening is you are setting intentions all the time, whether you know it or not. You are intending to have a relationship. You are intending to get a job. You are intending to have your children taken care of. Now, you may not call it that, but it's a deep desire that you have. The way in which those things can come to form in a way that feels fulfilling is your mindset. What are you thinking? What are you speaking internally and externally? Because sometimes it isn't just about what you're speaking to someone else. It's what are you speaking to yourself? And the other thing is, when people think of faith, for me, faith is trusting in a universe. And I'm just going to get kind of metaphysical here. A universe that loved you so much that it breathed its life into you to come here to do what nobody else can do. I mean, to me, that's friggin' amazing, and you don't have to know how, and you don't have to know when. I think for me, faith is trusting that the universe has me and that it's going to show up at the right time in the right way. And any challenge that comes into life is an opportunity to be still, to be open, to be awake, to be aware, and to trust that the universe has your back. I mean, I know it sounds simple. It's not. I mean, that's why I wrote the book, because I wanted people to see that in every decade, I was doing stuff that I was like, why did you do that? But the universe took care of me. I mean, I'm a miraculous unfolding. Sitting here with you, doing what I do today, from where I came from with the abuse and the trauma and the craziness that I came from, only divine intervention could have moved me out of that.
Nice. Yeah, I also recognize, Cynthia, that these challenges that we face, the obstacles that impact us, are there to strengthen us to do what it is that's ours to do. And without those early challenges, we would not have been on this path that we're here, contributing our gifts as we know them to be today. Yeah. And one of the things that I saw within the narrative of your book was a repeating pattern. And in writing it, you could say, at the time, I had a sense I was doing it again. But there I did, and there had to have been, at this point, a recognition. And you talked about it as failed relationships. And as you and Carl, your husband today, came into your life, you began questioning, why do we even have relationships? Like, what is this all about? Do I even really need it? I mean, that real gut wrenching challenge to your recognition of the importance of some of the things that you've been doing throughout your life. So when those moments occur, when you start seeing the pattern of dysfunction, what are some of the ways that people can lift themselves up to that next level, that higher ground, as you referred to it?
Mhm. Well, the first thing I would say is the recognition of the pattern is the first step. They say you will repeat the class until you get the lesson. And so the thing is if you keep having a challenge with finances, with relationships, with career, whatever it is, if it keeps showing up, you are the common denominator. And that was a big deal for me to get, okay, I'm the one that keeps doing this. I'm in all of those things. Yes. And so then the question becomes, what do I need to do? What do I need to open to shift it? And before I met Carl, I kind of went on hiatus for relationships because I was like, okay, if I'm the common denominator, I got to do something different here. And I realized that in that moment, I had to look at my belief systems around relationships. Why did I keep calling in the same kind of insanity that I went through as a kid? And when I got to that, I didn't think I was enough, when I didn't think I was valuable, I didn't think I deserved respect. When I got to that, it was like, oh, wait, no, that is inaccurate. So first, how do I love me? How do I honor me? How do I take care of me? And then when I enter into a relationship, there has to be a mirror of that, where we love, honor, and respect and care for one another. Otherwise, it's not a fit. And I think that sense of desperation in my life for relationships or whatever, when I released that and I got that I deserved what I gave and what I wanted in this life, everything changed. Carl came in and I almost didn't recognize him because he wasn't crazy.
I love that. Well, and being a celebrity and being married to a celebrity and playing the role of the celebrity wife, and then noticing the craziness that was happening in that relationship, to also discover that you wanted to enable it, you wanted to keep it under wraps, you wanted to help his career, you wanted to not call him out on it. And when he realized that he was not living in integrity anymore, that's when you got to notice you're out of the relationship, the papers are coming. So sometimes the supportive relationships that we need to really hold the pattern up for us, that we can stand in the fire of that, be in the cauldron and let those old patterns burn away or turn to ash, that requires, I think, another level of engagement than just you sitting in the pause, trying to work it out. And you referred to the importance of classes and workshops and therapists and coaches, and you had your prayer posse that you had, and you had a group that you could turn to. Could you say a little bit about how someone might begin gathering those kinds of external resources to help lift them up to that higher ground where they can really see, own, and then rewrite those deeper patterns that are going on?
Yeah, my prayer posse, we all came together because we felt like we needed community. And today I understand the power of community, but at the time it was just like, we all thought if we could come together and support each other, but from a positive point of view, like I I see your gifts. I get your vision. I want to support you. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that when you act out and do something out of integrity that it's okay, but I'm going to love you through it. And so what we did in that group was we agreed that our intention was to be connected to our divinity, to love and respect, honor one another, and to tell the truth. So what I want to say to anybody listening is, like, you want to find people that either are at that level with you or even above, where they can lift you up, so that you can, when you start to go down those rabbit holes of despair and lack of self-love, they're going to say, oh no, that's not who you are. Let's pray for you. So our group, we went through illnesses, divorces, we went through job challenges, money challenges, but we held each other up. And today, all of us are living our dreams in a certain form because we held the vision for each other. So you want to be, if it's 1, 2, 3, 4 people, it doesn't matter, that are going to hold that vision with you and are not going to let you play small.
Excellent. Yeah. And I know you have an organization for women that really helps women entrepreneurs and helps people grow, creating community that will support. I remember in the early days of my work, I had a board of advisors. I didn't do anything but said, I'm willing to listen and be there for you as you grow your business, which was really cool. These were good names to have on the letterhead of my business. But I also had business partners. I also created with my business partner a mastermind group where we did spiritual mastermind every 2 weeks for 7.5 years. I'm not kidding you. Everything we ever asked for came to be. It's because there's an act of surrendering that is a part of it, a willingness to turn it over to that higher power that moves through us. And it's like the 12-step principle, where we speak to God or this divine principle as we have come to know him, her, whatever, this greater presence and powers. If you call it universe, that's fine. Didn't matter. Whoever came into that group, and we'd stay together like your prayer posse, we would just lift each other up. We could always tell the truth. And the miracles that emerge from that just go on and on and on. So when you think about a person starting to recognize that there is more to their life than what they've been living up until now, you talk about the importance of listing the dream without any judgment on it. And I just love that. I did that. I shared it with a business colleague. She said, oh, well, I don't think that could happen. I went, oh, no. Gotta be careful who you share your dreams
That's
with.
right.
And I said, okay, time out. This isn't an evaluation of my dream. This is my statement of my heart's desire. And if you could just hold it and hear that, that's all you got to do. You don't have to make it happen yet, right? So there is an importance in how we pick those people. Any ideas that you saw through the arc of your life of who were the ones that stayed with you and who were the ones that were along for the ride but ended up just falling off when the road got troubled?
Yeah, there's a difference between being curious and inquisitive about someone's dreams, like, well, tell me more, as opposed to that won't work. And so when you've got people in your life that are not in the space of curiosity with you, they're in the space of putting down your dreams, then you want distance from that, because your passion points, the things that light you up, are the things that want to emerge. And there's an invitation for you to get in there and see what wants to come out. And anybody who can't support that is not for your highest and best. So you want to invite in people that see you. I mean, I am so grateful for the people in my life who saw me even when I couldn't see myself, who supported me when I was like going down some crazy rabbit hole would come back up here. I mean, it's what it does is it helps you grow your confidence. It helps you grow your love of self and your self-esteem when you have people mirroring back to you who they see and your beauty and your grace and your gifts.
I love that. It's wonderful to recognize when you have one of those kind of people in your life. There are some folks that I know that even if I don't see them for 12 years, we start exactly where we left off. We're just totally right with each other right at that moment. Now, those aren't necessarily the people that are going to help me get to my dreams, but it's nice to know that there is a way to drop into a place of real authentic communication that's supportive. One of the things that I wanted to ask you about your life's history, or the arc of your story, was that you would set these lofty goals and you would work your butt off to make them happen. You'd get the coaches and you'd get the lessons and you'd work and you'd get it and you put yourself all in and you'd get it, you'd win it, you'd accomplish it. And then you'd say, but this wasn't it. And it was interesting to me that it felt like your life never landed. What is that, where you set a goal, you achieve it, but there's a part of you that says, yeah, but this isn't all.
You know, it took a long time to get past that paradigm that you're talking about. And in the book, I talk about one time I had been given money on television, and here I am, 2 days later, depressed and trying to figure out what's next.
That's right.
And my friend and minister at the time, Michael Beckwith, I called him and he said, you're always looking for the next thing. And he said, so what I'd like you to do is walk around your house and say out loud, I am enough, until you feel clear. And I'm thinking, piece of cake, I can do that. Well, hours later, I'm still on the floor sobbing. And so what I realized is, I am an adventurer. I am a creator. And so I'm always going to be somebody who's like, oh, let's try this. But if you do it from the place of needing outside validation and outside being seen, then what you do is it's never enough because you don't believe you're enough. And so today, when I do things now, I do it because it brings me joy, not because I need somebody to tell me it's okay. It's really funny because when I was writing this book, I had these ambassadors that were working with me. I'd write a chapter and then they'd read it and they'd ask me questions. And when I got it to a draft form, I sent it to someone I really respect. And she was like, what is this? Is it a memoir? What is this book? What, And I was like, I don't know, but it's what I need to say. Now, in the past, someone with that level of stature, I would have been like crumbling. But it was like, I'm not writing the book for her. I'm writing the book for me, and I'm writing the book for the people that need it. And so to get to the place where you stop trying to get and you really be. I'm so grateful for my life today. I'm so grateful that I'm alive. I'm so grateful for all those experiences that I had. And I don't need anybody to tell me I'm okay, because I am.
Well, even in the reply that you've just given me, you said, yeah, I won some money on TV. Yeah, you won money on TV. You won the $100,000 prize for being the best actress on Star Search, 1986. Now, come on, won some money on TV. Oh my goodness. No, but the amount of effort that you poured into those, you do later recount and say, all of those experiences prepared me for this work that I am now doing. So I had a teacher that said, on the arc of our lives, there's going to be many mileposts, signposts that are indicating we're on our way, we're on the path. But many people will stop at those mile markers and just embrace it and stay right there, right?
Right.
If you had said, I'm the winner of Star Search, and that helped you get a bunch of jobs. I'm not denying that. But if that defined you as opposed to was one of the many steps toward where you were headed, you would have been lost. So there was this inner longing and inner knowing and inner need that was driving you. I wanted to refer to that, this concept of a drive that you have in this inner guidance system, because I have a question for you of how you were able to discern when that inner voice wasn't just saying, the reason you feel so lousy is because you're unworthy and you're not enough, or you're an imposter. The imposter syndrome came up for you later in a professional career, but this idea that we have intuition and it's a guidance system. When there's a feeling of opening, it's a yes going forward, and there's a feeling of constriction, it's no, stop. Whatever you're doing is shutting your energy down. And if you keep walking in the direction of that feeling of opening, you're always going to be okay.
Right.
I just love that you would get a voice, you would hear it, and you go, what? You're telling me I should do what? It just didn't even make sense to you. But when you turn toward it, whatever it was that was being called forward, there's always this sense. I don't know why. There's this feeling of expansion or openness. I'd love you to speak into how you came to discern the difference between your ego trying to make something happen and drive toward an outcome or a dream because it's a challenge and you're on an adventure, versus this is your calling. It's the way is going to be difficult, but every step that you take makes a difference. How did you discern the difference?
I wish I had a formula, but it was really, I come from a family, generations of women who were kind of prophetic dreamers. I mean, they knew when people were going to have babies and all this kind of stuff. And I thought as a kid that I was sort of cursed, because I would have these feelings or these dreams and I'd speak them to people, and then they'd happen, and then people would say, oh, she's a witch, or she's a this or a that, right? And so I kind of shut it down for a while. But the work I do in the world today is mind-body work. Your body is so intelligent. It's got a language, and it's always talking to you. So when I started going to school and I started researching and experimenting with it, what you said was so powerful. When you are connected to an inner knowing, there's an openness. The heart opens, the body opens. When you are not, constriction occurs. Could be the shoulders, it could be your throat, it could be, And so for me, I started learning that when the constriction happened, pause, stop, because there's something that I'm getting ready to go over a cliff here, and there's something going here, go here. And so I started learning that if I listened to my body being open, and that intuition, that inner voice saying, go right, even though it looks like you should go left. When I started listening, little miracles started happening. And so then I said, well, what if I can do that consistently? And what if I can teach other people to do that consistently? There can be great shifts. And so, even today, there are moments where my mind will want something. I want to create something, and something in me will go, don't do that. Don't go there. And I've learned to listen and be obedient to it, because every time I listen, something fabulous occurs.
The term obedience, to me, when you wrote it, I had another metaphysical interpretation that I heard one time. It's a biblical passage that said, the meek shall inherit the earth. And in your book, you wrote, when you listen deeply, actively trust it, and become obedient, the universe syncs up with you in ways you never could have imagined. Sit back in an expectancy of good. And the term meek was actually an ancient term from the Romans, that a horse, when it is brought under reins, is considered meek. It has nothing to do with power, because it's incredibly powerful, but it's reined in. In the yoga tradition, the term yoga means yoke, that you put on an ox to carry a profound weight. And very often that's what we have to do with the mind. And becoming obedient, or becoming reined in, or putting the yoke on so that we can make that discernment, is a life practice. In the statement that you've made, you referred to pause several times today. And I had a dear friend and colleague in the chemical dependency field that said pause is practice awareness until spirit emerges. And I just love that phrase. It just resonated. And so when you say the word pause, what is it? Time out, hold on, just a minute. I'm not going to make the decision right now. I got to think, what is it for you? What does pausing really mean for us as listening to this?
Well, the first thing I want to say is, when you feel out of sync, when you feel disconnected, there is something trying to get your attention.
Good. Yeah. You
cannot move forward clearly if you're in that energy of pushing. So pause for me is when you're feeling discordant, stop. Start asking some questions. Am I responding in a way that's healthy for me and others? Am I perceiving something that may or may not be accurate? I mean, you really start getting curious, because when you do that, you'll start to see where your mind is trying to control something that's uncontrollable. You can't control people. You can't control situations. So the only thing you can deal with is you. So pause for me is like, stop and find out what is going to open my body, what is going to open my heart, what is going to open my mind to be connected in a way that's beyond the physical. I was in Egypt, and I was in the store, and people were buying jewelry and stuff, and I wasn't doing that. I just didn't feel the need to do that. And this man was behind this counter where he was supposed to be selling jewelry, and he walks over to me and he says, "You've been here before?" I go, "Oh no, this is my first time in Egypt." He said, "No, I recognized you when you walked in the door." And I said, "Really?" He said, "Yes, I saw your soul." And he walked away. He didn't try to sell me any jewelry. And in that moment, it was like, for whatever reason, I was open enough for him to see it and to come in and have that conversation with me in a way that felt totally open and free. And I think that's it. The pause allows you to just exhale and become present for yourself and for others.
I love that. The idea of the open mind, the open heart, the open will. pausing enough to have that occur. Otherwise, mind does get stuck in trying to predict and control how life is going to go. And also in the narrative of your book is the many ways in which you did that, very often quite successfully, I might say, that you were able to get to where you wanted to go. And so your book is a great guide on how to achieve dreams, how to manifest your dreams. I think the undercurrent within this book is that deeper place of how do we really listen to what our soul is telling us so that we can allow source to show us the best ways and means to live a life full of meaning and purpose. And it was great to hear you throughout the book say, yeah, this was on purpose, but it wasn't the end. You're right. This isn't the end point. And, I guess like a lot of books or a lot of movies, I kept waiting for you to win the big prize and finally get, okay, I'm enough. I got this, I'm handled. What I wrote here, I circled, it says, finding your voice does not always ensure an outcome. So the fact that you can express yourself and get to a dream is important, and we step up and do that. It says, speaking your truth does not mean you'll always be heard. Standing up for yourself isn't a guarantee that people won't resist you or your need. The value of discovering and sharing your voice is for you. There's a sense of freedom when you dare to respect and honor yourself. Some of the greatest people in history have been ridiculed, misunderstood, even punished for standing up. Of course, you referred to Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King Jr., Maya Angelou, so many people throughout human history. And I dare say that you stand among them as a representative of someone who continued to pursue the truth, even though it looked like, to some, you're really falling off the rails. Your spiritual path became a way for you to find your expression coming together, your ministry, your teaching, your organizational skills all came together to create an amazing life of service. I really want to thank you for all that you do for everyone. I read this last line. It says, stand up, stand out, live out loud. You are a masterpiece in the making. The world is waiting for you. So as we wrap up today, Cynthia, what would you say a practice, probably a favorite practice is for you that when you share it with somebody and it lands on them, you really know that you've left a gift in their hands? How would you finish our session?
When I wake up in the morning, there's a little gap between when you're asleep and when you're fully awake.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I do and what I tell my clients to do is in that gap, declare your greatness. Declare that you've always been important and powerful and dynamic, and that this day, this particular day, will be a manifestation of that truth.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for that. Such a pleasure to be with you.
I love you, Paul. Thank you so much.
Love you too. And peace and blessings. And do say hi to Carl for me as well.
I totally will.
Bye for now. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Cynthia James. You can learn more about Cynthia at cynthiajames.net. That's CYNThiaJames.net. And now in the second part of the podcast, it's just you and me. I'll tell you how to use the Paraliminal sessions in the MINDTRX app to easily handle obstacles and move toward the success you want, especially as it relates to our conversation with Cynthia. If you're new to the relaxing Paraliminal audio sessions, they use breakthrough technologies to activate your whole mind in only 20 minutes to help improve any area of your life. Let's get going. Hello, welcome to the follow-on to my conversation with the wonderful Cynthia James, celebrity in her own right, an amazing arc, journey to her life that we were able to explore, and many of the revelations and teachings that she received that can be of benefit to anyone seeking to find their full expression in life. Her book, Does My Voice Matter? A Journey of Self-Discovery, Authenticity, and Empowerment. And she was very authentic, wouldn't you agree? It was wonderful to be with her. I've known her for a number of years, but never had the insight into her life that I did. In fact, I even went onto a little URL that she put in her book to see the winning of the Star Search with Ed McMahon back in 1986. Wonderful experience. There are a number of things that she talked about that are at the very core of our work to self-development. When we look at changing our lives for the better, very often we're looking to get rid of the things that we have and don't want, and to achieve the goals that we want but don't have. And very often the things that hold us back are our fears or worries about a future, fear of success or fear of failure, and also the worry that if we leave the present situation, the status quo, that things might not go as we might really want them to. And as bad as they are, I got some goodies here that I don't want to lose. Well, Cynthia is a self-admitted adventure explorer, so whatever realization or goal she achieved, she'd always be seeking the next thing. So I thought that her story gave us a lot of insights in terms of what we might do to be able to express ourselves more effectively, what we might be able to do to set goals and achieve them more effectively, to be able to pause when there's too much chaos and just connect with ourselves, our intuition, that source within us that's trying to communicate or guide us. And finally, the idea of from time to time, we get derailed, and what can we do about it? So as I thought about her life story, and had I known her while she was going through many of these things that she went through, I would have suggested a number of paraliminals that could have helped her along the way. So I'd like to give you some ideas. If any of these 4 areas may be of significance to you, let's start with the idea of self-expression. Now, in our dialogue, we talked about we're here for a reason. You're brought here by a loving universe to deliver your gifts, and whatever your form of expression may be, that's uniquely yours. You're here to give your unique contribution to humanity and to the planet. So find it, whatever that is, and then be able to pursue it, get better at it. And there is a paraliminal that I did with Stuart Emery called Success Built to Last. It says, doesn't matter what you do, but whatever you do, do it well. And we become students of our own success. Cynthia said that our lives leave breadcrumbs. And if we could follow the trail, we would discover a lot about what it is we're here to express. And I created a paraliminal that can help us find our true purpose. It's called Finding Yourself. And another paraliminal that can help us reach that highest level of expression is called Self-Actualizations. It's based on the idea of Abraham Maslow's 5 hierarchy of needs, that when we get to the top, self-actualization, that's actually not the top, but really it's a pull, it's a draw, it's a longing for self-transcendence, which absolutely parallels the concepts that Cynthia was expressing in her book. So let's move to the idea of goal setting and achieving. Throughout the book, Cynthia talks a lot about her establishing goals and working very hard to realize them. And most of them she did. And while all of the ones that she achieved contributed to a greater end result of who she became in life, at the time, they weren't always seen by her as being so great, because she was looking to her goals as being the ultra solution to all of her interior problems. And it turned out that what she came to realize, it was her sense of a lack of worthiness, her feeling that she was a throwaway or not worthy, that she was worthless somehow, that got in the way. So the paraliminals that I would recommend would include prosperity, which is the recognition that the universe is abundance, and we have access to that abundance with our prosperity consciousness. If, for example, you're writing a book or want to put on a show of some kind, Creativity Supercharger is a tremendous one for being able to come up with the new and creative ways to get you where you want to go. Peak performance is always good. People who are in the dance and music, excellent. It can be used in sports. It could be used in virtually any expression of your life. Whatever you're going to do, be the best at it. Seeking peak experiences is also the highest form of the self-actualized person. Is transcendence is about having a peak experience every single day. And Cynthia talked about that in that twilight state between wakefulness and sleep. There is this brief moment where your mind is quite calm. And if you can put in there the expression of your life, the vision, the dream of you living and manifesting your greatest experience in life, that would be the place to do it. From time to time, we need guidance. And while Cynthia talked about getting your posse around you, a mastermind group, as I talked about, or board of advisors, ad hoc board of advisors, confidants, people that are supportive to you, there's also the idea of pausing to connect with source within you. And this gets us to the idea of being able to listen to that still small voice within, that intuition. So finding that communication, interior communication, is done best with the intuition amplifier. So whatever that small signal is, you can really focus on it and make it big enough, loud enough, clear enough that you can hear it, see it, feel it. Talked about that sense of that opening that occurs when you're moving forward. That internal guidance system is there for you. And living the law of attraction, which I did with Jack Canfield. Great paraliminal to not only pause, but also raise your vibration to a higher frequency so that you can attract to you all of the support needed to move you in the direction of the goals that are important to you. And as Cynthia says, when you do this, you're going to see these miraculous events occur, people showing up, calls coming in, just amazing things you could not explain other than that's exactly what I asked for. So living the law of attraction, really good in that regard. And from time to time on the arc of our life or in the arc of achieving a worthwhile end result outcome that we have, we get derailed. We fall off the horse. We get off track. We lose sight of what's important. And if for any reason that happens, there are several paraliminals that will get us back on track, feeling good about ourselves, feeling good about the goals that are in front of us, and motivating us from within to keep on keeping on. And these would include the self-esteem supercharger, because very often when we fail, we take it on the chin, we denigrate ourselves, we call ourselves failures rather than, oops, that didn't work. What else can I try, right? New history generator, when you've got a long history of negation or trauma or abuse or a lack of support, listen to the new history generator and it'll absolutely shift the way you think about your history, and your history can begin to serve you rather than hinder you. New option generator, when we're stuck between a rock and a hard place, really helpful because you want to do it, but you don't want to do it. And you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. How do you resolve this? The new option generator is the bomb.com. It's so powerful for getting us past those kind of stuck states. Wow, I could think of probably lots more that Cynthia James' work has triggered in me, but I think that's a pretty good list to start with. So think about the areas of your life where you may need a little additional oomph. The resources are within you to be able to accomplish what you desire. Tap into them and discover how to express the fullness of who you are. Thanks so much. This is Paul Scheele. That's all for now. Thank you for joining me today. I applaud your willingness to maximize your potential. You can easily use the Paraliminal audio sessions in the MINDTRX app to stimulate your non-conscious mind, that's your inner mind, to reduce any resistance in your life and to propel you toward the success you want. Visit MINDTRX.com to learn more. These amazing audio tools have helped millions, and I encourage you to bring them into your world today. Be sure to be back for more episodes of the MINDTRX podcast. You'll find insightful conversations with authors, experts, and thought leaders, all devoted to improving your life's experience. Thank you again for being here on our MINDTRX podcast.